not how the Cowboys played, but how the Giants didn't play. I thought, after last year, the Giants had gotten significantly better. They didn't draft. They traded for Darren Waller. They added some pieces to that defense, and I thought they were going to be solid. And I thought with the loss of offensive coordinator Kellen Moore, the Cowboys were going to kind of slow down just a little bit. That defense in Dallas, as much as I hate the Dallas Cowboys, and anybody who knows me knows I hate the Dallas Cowboys, their defense is one of the best defenses I've ever seen in my life. It's crazy. Micah Parsons is unguardable in the double team. Trayvon Diggs is making that play he had where he chased down, I forget who it was that caught the ball, but he chased down somebody and then stripped it from behind in pursuit was insane. Gilmore played lights out. I cannot believe the Cowboys got him for a 5th-round pick. It's absolutely
that's
insane.
Absurd.
That defensive front is amazing, and the Giants just looked. I expected them to lose this game, but I didn't expect it to be 40-0. I thought that was absolutely mind-boggling to me. The fact that the Giants couldn't put a single point on the board, nor get in field goal range, is crazy. I also think it's incredibly idiotic that they had Daniel Jones out there in the fourth quarter. The game is over at that point. It's ridiculous. They're having him out there, and he's their franchise quarterback that they overpaid, and they're going to play him. And what happens when he gets injured? Who are you going to put out there? Who's the backup? Tyrod Taylor? Is Tyrod Taylor the backup?
Yeah, he is. Yeah. I was talking about him.
Yeah, that's not smart. They can't be playing him out there in the fourth quarter. The game's over with. Move on to the next week. But, yeah, I thought it was incredibly surprising that the defense played so well and the Giants played so bad. Even Barkley played terrible. So that was my biggest surprise. What about you, Oliver?
I do like the Cowboys defense. They were very stout, and I'm not a Cowboys fan by any means of the imagination. Even though I live in Dallas currently.
Sure about that? Look at that hat.
Hey. Let's take it easy, all right? All right. So I will say, though, I did think the Giants not scoring a single point was surprising. Like you said, I don't think Daniel Jones should have been out there in the third, the third and the fourth quarter. But I do think the biggest surprise to me by a long mile was Jordan Love. I mean, that dude is a baller. Well, come on. Buddy had, 250 yards passing, touchdowns. He was the highest rated quarterback outside of Tua, I think, this week. That kid obviously took his time and took all the lessons he learned from Aaron Rodgers, whether they were passive or aggressive lessons from Aaron or not. Obviously Aaron Rodgers, I hate that the guy's hurt, but I mean, it seems like the Packers are, they're doing pretty good right now, and they feel pretty confident in their quarterback. So I think that the system that the Packers have for quarterbacks, it's like sneaky working. We're going to have another 30 years of just,
Remind me who the Green Bay Packers played again. Who did they play?
Hey, they played the Bears, who have a solid defense, okay?
Solid.
Yeah. Did you forget about Tremaine Edmonds? Come on, bud. Let's take it easy. All right.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's still an NFL defense. It's still an NFL defense. And he's going into Atlanta this week, and they're going to play the Falcons. And I would take that all day, every day. Give me the Packers, the points. Just give them to me. Because Jordan Love, I've been singing his praises ever since he got drafted. And everyone was just coming down on me because of it. Just give the guy some time. You got to give him time. And look,
3 years.
Week one,
he's been retired a couple of years. He's been in the league forever now.
Dude. Let's not make that joke, or we're gonna get comments on Instagram now.
Oh yeah, we don't want that. We don't want that.
Yeah, because apparently we think people are not old or whatever. Yeah, whatever. But
what it is.
So yeah, I think Jordan Love's gonna have a good season. I don't think he's gonna be like Patrick Mahomes level or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was, but honestly, I was genuinely not surprised. I was very happy to see Jordan Love have some semblance of success after being put down all these years.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like our special guest is making his way in.
Oh,
There he
is
is.
Let's go.
How you doing? It's been a while.
I know. How's it been?
Good, good. How have you been?
Busy.
Well, for everyone just tuning in, this is Mr. Greg, our former band director from
A legend.
from
A legend.
a legend.
A legend.
Wait time. Yeah. Wait
So, so we're just getting into our biggest surprise or takeaway from week 1 in the NFL. So mine was Jordan Love coming out there and balling, and then his was the Cowboys defense. So any of those sentiments,
I
or
mean,
do you?
yeah. The both are very surprising. I mean, Cowboys definitely stepped it up quite a bit defensively. I mean, really, the offense didn't have to do anything because the defense did everything.
Right.
That special team. So, that was on brand. Like they've been constantly stepping up. In that regards. I didn't expect it to be that lopsided, but I don't think anybody really did. So I'm like, kudos to them. If you had the Dallas defense on your fantasy team and you came up,
That was
big,
me. That was me. Yes, sir.
yeah,
Yes,
I was
sir.
like, what? Like you got like at least 35 points just on that. So
Mhm.
those are both pretty good. And I would not really there were too many surprises for me. I'll put it this way. I was surprised that Pittsburgh got blown out like they did. Mike Tomlin usually is pretty
Yes.
solid, brings that first game of the year, and they just did not show up. So that was kind of disappointing. But I mean, it
Mhm.
happens in football. My boy Tariq Hill is still Tariq Hill, no matter what team he balled
He
out.
is scary.
Yeah,
He won me. He won me multiple fantasy leagues this week.
yeah. I won my game too because I won Tariq Hill. So shout out to all the league players for sure. So yeah, that was. I mean, like I said, you guys kind of pointed it out pretty great. Like the Dallas defense was awesome. You know, I think about the Packers thing. Folks just I guess they figured when Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets that they were just gonna fall off and like, nothing was gonna I mean, they
Mhm.
got like 5 first round draft picks like because of that trade. So it's like, all right, they're still the Packers, they're still a good football team. So that was pretty. I mean, I don't know why people were like, "Oh my gosh!" I guess they just thought they were just going to crumble up just because of Aaron Rodgers left. So, I mean, they're still the Packers. So anyway, but yeah, no,
Mhm.
I was on brand with those. Like I said, my surprise was just Pittsburgh just not showing up. Like they just that was it.
Very disappointing.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think their offense showed up either. I'm not a Kenny Pickett fan by any means. I mean,
Right.
he kind of stuck up the joint. Granted, it was against the 49ers defense, which is also one of the best in the league. But
Mhm.
you still got to put up some points. I mean, especially if you're the
Right.
supposed franchise quarterback, you got to show up, especially against a team
Yeah.
like that in week 1. Yeah, I echoed that sentiment with the
Mhm.
with the Steelers not showing up, but.
Well, yeah, right, exactly. You said it. The quarterback. I mean, you gotta produce, right? But I mean, it's tough against the San Francisco 49ers. Their defense is amazing. They ball out. I would argue. I mean, they're probably top 3 as far as I'm concerned. So, like in terms of just being able to get after folks, the Jets are right up there too. Well, and they showed that last night. But then again, boy, Josh Allen he was pretty reckless throughout. I was like, what are you doing? I was like, whose team is he really playing for? Is he really the Jets quarterback? Is he wearing the wrong jersey?
He forgot to
Fire
put on the
Ken
green
Dorsey.
jersey. He forgot to put on the green jersey before coming out the locker room.
That's what I think. Because man, you
Fire
said
Ken
four.
Dorsey.
Right.
No, let's not. That's all Josh Allen. Terrible play
Right.
by him. He has nobody to blame but himself.
Right. Some of those throws, man, Ken Dorsey couldn't have fixed. He couldn't have called that. When he throwing it right, I'm like, okay, really? Like, come on now.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I'll tell you, I'm with you. I'm right. Like with Josh Allen, I mean, most times he's a cool dude, but last night I was like, man, you are reckless all the way.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
no way. Even the Jets. I mean, their defense was solid, but there's no way I had them winning yesterday. Like most people, I was just like, no. I mean, no.
Right.
I think the problem with that one was when Josh kind of saw Aaron Rodgers go down, and he found out, oh, he's not coming back. Like, this is our opportunity to open this thing wide open. He took that and was like, all right, I'm going to start slinging it and just throwing it across the field. And it just led to rash decision after rash decision after rash decision. Like, it just was not the right situation for him to be doing that. Like, you obviously still have the Jets defense, who is obviously leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of defenses in the league. So, Isaiah,
I want to say something.
Oh, go ahead.
So I watch Undisputed with Skip Bayless, Michael Irvin, and Michael Irvin said something interesting in the show this morning about that whole Buffalo game. I want to know what you guys' opinion is on this. He said that Josh Allen looked like he's playing differently because he wants to try to put out any flame or fire of the offseason tribulation that he had with Stephon Diggs and him not reporting to training camp. So he was trying to force feed him the ball a little bit, trying to start off the season on a good note. And in turn, it was causing him to panic, causing him to make irrational throws, throw all these interceptions. And then he also said that he hated that Stephon Diggs and his head coach were talking to Josh Allen after every drive that he had a turnover or a bad drive. And they would go up to him and be like, be smarter. Because he said that doing that in public is essentially telling the other team our quarterback's dumb. So do you think it was more of do you guys think it was more of a mental thing in trying to satisfy Stephon Diggs, or do you guys just think that defense just made him play that bad because they're that real?
That's a good question. I just think that their defense is top tier. I felt like prior to the Aaron Rodgers injury, I felt like they were a quarterback away from being elite because, I mean, they had all the other tools in play. Everything else was lined up for them to do well. The only thing that was kind of preventing them was the quarterback situation. And, Zach Wilson is not the greatest in the world. Like, they had a lot of struggles last year. Mm-hmm. And so, which is why I saw them, why they pulled in Aaron Rodgers. And obviously, him going down like the fourth play of the game, I mean, that definitely made it kind of, a pause for them. And obviously, Buffalo's a good team. They're more than a good team. They're a really good team. I think that, just like I was saying, he has that gunslinger mentality. I'm talking about Josh Allen, and it's either feast or famine with him. So
right.
I don't necessarily, it was more, I don't think it was necessarily the Stephon Diggs piece of that. I think it was just more of him just trying to just go out there. Well, I'm gonna show them, like, I don't care if they are the Jets defense. I'm gonna ball out, and they're not going for it. So that's my take. Because, like I said, I feel like he's like that all the time. It's either feast or famine with Josh Allen, and he just ran up against Westall, and they caught him in the. I mean, granted, short of that last play in overtime, that run back that and the tripping call that they didn't call. I mean, we would have a different conversation. We would have a similar conversation, but it would be a little bit different in the fact that they pulled it out. You know what I mean?
You're right. What about you all?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a bit of a stretch by Irvin there. I mean, as a teammate, especially as a star duo, like, you expect Diggs to go up to Allen after that and kind of get his quarterback back in the zone, because he's the one throwing him the ball. Like, you can't just let your quarterback go on the sideline and mope and be all sad that he threw a pick. Like, you're expected to be that guy, especially as a captain on the team. So I don't buy that a ton, just because, like, especially if you're making the argument, like, can you really from the Jets sideline see Allen Diggs hyping up Allen? Like, I don't know if every player is looking over to the other sideline and is seeing that interaction happen. So you can't really make that. That's a bit of a stretch to me. I just think Josh Allen thought he could take the game over since Aaron Rodgers went out, and he just took it a little too far.
And you know what? I was thinking the same thing, Ollie. Like, I was thinking, like, no, they're not going to be looking at the other sideline, paying attention every time And that's just a normal thing. Like, if you're having a bad game or whatever, you look for your teammates to kind of prop you up and like, hey, you'll get it together, whatever. But I think the other team, in this case, the Jets, I don't think they were really concerned about that. They were they were in the game and they were competing and they were, catching these interceptions. So they didn't have time to worry about looking over there and seeing what that dynamic was like. So I agree with you. I think Michael Irvin was kind of reaching there. I mean, and to be honest, Diggs still got the ball. Like he got the ball. I think he had like 10 receptions for like 102 yards or something.
Yeah, he was the best player on the offense.
He did. Yeah.
And a touchdown.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So it wasn't even that. Like it wasn't like there was a rip there because shoot, he was getting them the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of deflates a little bit of Michael Irvin's argument in that respect. So
yeah, I don't necessarily know that like if the whole Diggs and Allen like riff is still there. I don't think it is. I think they're tight as they can be. I mean, especially if to me, Josh Allen's one of the smartest quarterbacks in the league. No matter his turnovers or anything like that. Like the guy knows the game through and through. And obviously he makes mistakes, but that's just his nature. That's how he plays. That's what's kind of expected, especially if you want to get it's bigger gains, but then you get a little kind of drawback with his turnovers. But he's a really smart player. He's gonna bounce back. I mean, he's still gonna have a good season. I'm not worried. I'm not, Last night I was upset and I text Isaiah, the season's over, call it off.
Now that Rodgers is out for the year, the season is not over.
No.
I mean, let's be real.
But you know what though?
So
I'm sorry, go ahead. You got it. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mr. Greg. I'll get to my point afterwards.
I was just gonna say, in a way, Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers, they tend to mirror each other because Aaron Rodgers.
I agree.
He's too. Like they call him a gunslinger and all that stuff too. He can make some fantastic plays, but he can also make it real bad and real difficult for his team at times too. So in a way, they're real similar.
Absolutely. Or you go ahead, Isaiah.
Right. So I was just going to transition into another game I found interesting before we transition over to college football. Mm-hmm. But I want to know what you guys thought about the absolute beatdown by the Cleveland Browns against the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, it's crazy how much of a turnaround that is. To be fair, I believe the stat is Cleveland is 5-1 in their past 6 games against the Joe Burrow-led Bengals, which is a crazy stat. But, I mean, when you look at that, I mean, the Bengals could not get anything going. I think Joe Burrow had 80-something yards for the game, and they took him out late in the fourth quarter. He could not get anything done, and the O-line was not protecting him. So why do you think Cleveland was so successful? Again, not just this game, but every game it seems that they play, Cleveland has their number. What do you guys think? I'll start with you first, Mr. Gray.
Ooh, that's a good question, man. Because and I think I don't even remember if Ollie and I talked about it beforehand. I think I might have told him that I was leaning Cleveland just because.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't even know that stat until you just brought that up. But I was just like, I do know that Cleveland, like you said, has had their number since Joe Burrow's been the quarterback, and that. When you start talking about, I guess call it a crosstown rivalry or whatever against 2 teams in the same state or whatever, they're always going to play up for that. They're always going to get up for that game. So they might stick up to the rest of the season, which they're not. I don't see them doing that. But that game, it's kind of like, in a way, how I imagined the Cowboys and Giants game was going to go. But obviously, that went almost to the same way that the Browns and the Bengals went.
Right.
So, like I said, I know that, like Cleveland, like I said, they get up for that game. There was a lot of skepticism about the whole Deshaun Watson thing. I mean, he's still a good quarterback. Whatever allegations, whatever legal issues, whatever, he's still pretty elite and pretty damn good quarterback. So it wasn't like they were just going to get pushed over. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Burrow side of that, that's just an interesting thing to me. That's been like the first 1 or 2 games, it seems like the last couple of seasons, he just really hasn't really kind of played up to what he was later on in the season. I think some of that is just not preseason, not getting any reps, being rusty. And I think that was part of my reason why I kind of leaned toward Cleveland yesterday as well. Because he didn't get really he really didn't play much during preseason at all. And so, and I get
Mhm.
I get part of that, but it's like with anything else. If you're not actively doing that, if you're not actively throwing on regular routes with your receivers, if you're not getting into that rhythm of doing that before that first game, then that first game is kind of like your preseason. You're having to do all the same stuff that everybody else did in preseason, but you're having to do it the first game of regular season. So I think
And against a really, really good defense too, with Myles
Right.
Garrett running at you. There's this clip of Myles Garrett I saw on social media, and he was literally acting like he was crossing somebody over before he rushed straight down the middle, past the O line, and he just ran straight towards Burrow. So, what about you, Oliver? I thought that game was just crazy.
Well, you called it, man. I wasn't
Yeah,
I wasn't a
predicted Cleveland to
believer.
win.
I wasn't a believer, and then I kept seeing the betting lines, and I was like, why is the public all over Cleveland? Over the team that went deep into they went to the AFC Championship last year, right? So I'm sitting here 1-point favorites on the road against the Browns. That's easy. They should cover that, right? But I was very wrong. And
Right. I thought you texted me that. Did you ask?
I did. I was like, why is the public all over Cleveland?
Listen, I was like, well, I can tell you why. All the signs kind of pointed to that because it was just because they at the beginning of the season, the Bengals have been the same way. They've taken a while to kind of get their mojo going, and then they kind of light fire mid-season, and then they carry it all the way to the end. But those first couple games are kind of brutal. So this was right in line with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, and like you said, Mr. Greg, despite everything, I love the clowning on X that he got when he pointed to the sky, and everyone was like, "Whoa!" But
That was funny. That was funny.
Yeah. Well,
but
he's watching stuff, so he's not oblivious to things that are going on. So in a way,
right,
kind of pump, go out and show folks.
Right. And he's still, like you said, he's still a great quarterback, and he showed it. He has the legs. He still has his legs. He could throw it down deep and connect with his receivers when he needs to. So I don't know. I think, to be honest with you, it was a weird week when KC, Cincinnati, and Buffalo all lost. And I think, and a lot of people had Cincinnati above Buffalo going into the season. I think it's a lot more worrisome for the Bengals than it is for the Bills coming out of week 1. I think if you're a Bengals fan, I would be scared because your O-line is not good. Still isn't. Even though they went to the Super Bowl a couple years ago, still not good. Joe Burrow kind of looks like a shell of himself. You got to be thinking about that injury that he suffered in training camp. Is it still lingering, or is it still, has he fully recovered from the injury? And then you got to look at your defense. I mean, you just let the Browns go in there and rump shot on you. It's not. I would be way more worried if I was a Browns fan or a Bengals fan than if I was a Bills fan today.
I want to add something to what you just said, Oliver. So something that I've noticed, and when I watch the Cleveland Browns play, I'm in awe at how good their run play calling is. Not only do they have arguably the best running back in the league, maybe in contention with Derrick Henry, but this dude, Nick Chubb, he's so hard to bring down. And I think the Bengals don't like that style of game. They don't want to play somebody like the Cleveland Browns. They want to play somebody like a Kansas City that's airing it out, that refuses to run the ball, like a Buffalo who's going to try to throw the ball, like a LA, like a Miami. But when you have to play those teams that won't do that, and they're just going to run down your throat every single play, and they have an extremely talented running back, it's hard for them, and they get tired, and the offense has no rhythm because the defense is on the field for 5-6 minutes at a time, and they can't do anything. So I just wanted to add that.
No, yeah. I agree. I mean, when you keep getting hit over and over and over, it's one thing if you're airing it out and it's a track meet, and that's a different tire. But when you get pounded on over and over again, yeah, that gets real old real quick.
Mm-hmm. I want to, before we kind of go into our week 2 look, forward looking to week 2, I kind of want to talk about the Dolphins for a second because, wow, they might have one of the best offenses the league has ever seen. If Tua can remain healthy, that man can have an MVP season just by chucking it to Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. Like
last year, he was
it's
on
that
track.
easy.
Last year they were on track to start the season off until he got injured. They were like, "Whoa, this Dolphins team is insane. We've never seen this before." And they're starting off again the same way.
Yep. And I think if Tua stays healthy, as a Buffalo Bills fan, I'm scared. Like that division may be up in the air. The Jets are done, unfortunately. But that division's up in the air now, especially between Miami and
Tom Brady.
Right. Tom Brady comes out of retirement. He's like,
Isaiah, do you think Tom Brady is self-respecting enough to go to the Jets? Come on now. He as a past legend, he would never.
But he would not. He is not coming out of retirement, and I think everybody knows that.
No, he's done. Yeah. But like, do we think Tua is gonna, if he stays healthy, do you think he has a chance at MVP? I'll start with you, Mr. Greg.
That's tough. They got to just ball out every single game, man. They got to beat every game. He's just, like I said, the injury bug is a thing. Concussions are a big thing with him as well. So you gotta one hit away. You know what I'm saying? Granted, if he's healthy and those cats with wide receivers are still there, I mean, the sky's the limit. But it's a long season. 16 games, that's a long season to kind of work through before you can start talking about playoffs. So, only time will tell. But I mean, I think they have most of the tools in place. They can go pretty deep in the season. Him being an MVP, again, all about him being healthy.
Mm-hmm.
If he gets healthy, that's it.
Isaiah?
Absolutely no shot he's in the MVP conversation. No shot. And I'll tell you why. Is even if he remains healthy the whole season, I think voters are smart enough to know that it's not like if he had Waddle, he would still be very, very good. And he's very accurate. He's a great quarterback. His talent is there. But I think everybody knows that you could put almost anybody and have Mike McDaniel calling your plays and have Tyreek Hill as your weapon that you could throw to. Imagine hiking the ball and you look up, the ball hits your hands, you look up, and he's already 5 yards away from his defender. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're in the NFL, you have some sort of skill and accuracy in your game. If you're a quarterback, no matter if you're the first stringer or the third stringer. And I feel like voters are going to know that. If anything, people are going to call me crazy. I know we're on the Miami game, but if Micah Parsons keeps up his play, I think he will be the first non-quarterback MVP that we've had in a long time. I think if he plays insane and he has a lot of sacks, because I don't think anybody's going to be able to guard him, I think he has a great chance of winning MVP. If he keeps it up for the duration of the season, it's going to be really, really hard. He has to break the sack record. He has to get a couple of picks. He has to have some great games, like where it's close in the fourth quarter and he makes a crazy play. He has to have those signature moments. But Tua, I'm not buying it. I'm a believer now. I'm not buying the MVP race.
I mean, I can agree with you on all the points you just made. Well, and there is some kind of like, I mean, obviously he is a name coming from college, but you start seeing the same names over and over, like where they start having more conversations from an MVP standpoint. And I guess his narrative is the injury thing that we've been talking about, right? Mm-hmm. So even if he does have really good games, people keep going back to that. Well, concussions and all that, but when you notice other people that are having conversations about like legit MVP candidates, it's usually to the positive. They're all like, even if they have a bad game, you still keep hearing their name over and over and over again on positive things. Oh man, they just had a ball out game, and and people keep dropping that in. So that's part of it too. So I tend to agree with you on that. So it takes a really phenomenal for it to shift people's minds to put him in that conversation. But I don't think he'll be in it either, honestly.
Mm-hmm. He has a chance, though. He has a chance. It's the big asterisk that he has to be healthy.
He has the same chance of winning MVP as I do winning the lottery. I mean, come on now. Let's be real. Let's call it what it is. Let's call it what it is.
Buddy, Tua has odds at Vegas to win MVP.
It's crazy.
He's saying that with a lottery ticket in hand right now.
It's crazy you say that, and I want to push back on your question, because clearly you asked that question because you think that it's possible. But how come? And I understand he didn't start till early midway through the season. People could argue that Brock Purdy played just as well as Tua has played for his career in terms of accuracy, throwing the ball, being smart with the football. But everybody knows that he's a good quarterback. But everybody knows it's because of his system, of Kyle Shanahan's system. So let's not act like Mike McDaniel, the head coach of the Dolphins, didn't come straight from San Francisco, move over to Miami, brought half his skill players with him, and then decided to run a very similar offense. If you look at their offensive, commentators have said they run very similar offenses. Is Brock Purdy talked about as an MVP? No. Would he ever be talked about? No. But for some reason, people think that Tua is like elevating everybody else at such an exponential rate when he's not. Because last time I checked, the Dolphins almost beat Buffalo in the playoffs last year. They scored 31 with Skylar Thompson playing quarterback. Do you know who Skylar Thompson is?
Hey, he's a Kansas State legend. Oh. Watch your mouth.
All right. I just want to say that. I want to say Tua's MVP because they're wow and because it's Miami, because they got Tyreek Hill. But Brock Purdy, nobody's going to talk. No matter how well he plays, they can go undefeated. Nobody's going to say, "Oh, Brock Purdy deserves to win it."
Wait. So why? My question is, so a lot of people make the argument that Jalen Hurts is a system quarterback, which I vehemently disagree with.
I disagree.
But why aren't people making that same argument for Jalen Hurts if he's supposedly a system quarterback? Is it because his talent?
I think we can. Well, I think we can. I think it's safe to say that we can agree that Tua Tagovailoa is not Brock Purdy. They're not like,
right.
Even if they're a part of the system, they are very different in their play all the way throughout. Right, you won't see Brock Purdy just take off and running for like 45 yards, like breaking ankles. He's gonna sit in the pocket and pick you apart, if that. So, I hear Isaiah, I hear what you're saying. Like, I hear that conversation, but I think that they're very starkly different in terms of what they bring to the table. Now, granted, Brock Purdy's a decent quarterback. I mean, but if you ask me which out of those two I would rather have the ball, I'm gonna choose Tua every time. So I'm sorry, that's just me. So,
okay, I agree. Yeah. I very much agree. Although I do like Brock Purdy. He's good. He's good.
He's not bad. No. I mean, I'm just saying when you got those like right there. No.
He's only won every single game he's played in, unless it was the one he got injured in. That's crazy to me. But nobody see like you, Mr. Greg. You're like, oh, he's decent. But why are they so good then? Like, why are they literally haven't lost with him unless he got injured on the first play of the Eagles game in the conference championship. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's that good.
Well, he doesn't screw up. He doesn't
He doesn't.
Situations. He doesn't put him in compromising situations. That's more of that's a game manager type quarterback, which is fine. If that's what you do, that's fine. Like, you don't put your team in jeopardy, which I take that. I'm good with that. If I know I'm going to get that consistently from you, you're going to take care of the ball and just do your job. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, Mr. Greg, I want to get some gambling insights from you.
Yeah.
I want to get your thoughts on some of these lines for week 2. So to start, Ravens and Bengals in Cincinnati. The Bengals are minus 3.5 right now. What are your thoughts? Do you think the Bengals cover or the Ravens cover? I'm not sure what the over-under is. If it'll load, it's 46 and a half.
No, I thought it was like 39. Was that 46 and a half? Really?
46 and a half. Yes, sir.
Wow. I thought it was much lower than that. Well, I mean, honestly, and that was on one of my, that was one of the ones that I wanted to talk about anyway, because I have a couple that are pretty interesting. But here's a very interesting stat to me. So, the teams from week 1 to week 2, like if they lose by 10 or more points, the following week they are 6-0 straight up and 5-1 against the spread. So if a team got beat by 10 or more in week 1, week 2 they figured their lives out and kind of got it.
Interesting.
Right. And so this game that we're talking about, the Bengals that are playing the Ravens, they fall in that category. I'm just saying. Now, couple of things to kind of look at. One, obviously we talked about Joe Burrow and his struggles in that game one, and I'm sure he was seething after that game, and I'm sure he heard it from multiple people about how well or not well he didn't really play well at all. And so I'm sure that's in his crawl about, okay, like obviously I got to get my life together. So that's part one. Obviously, you know, the Ravens, they just kind of mashed all over last week. And so, I mean, it is what it is. But, I mean, it wasn't like, I mean, they didn't, I don't feel like the Texans, like really, they just didn't play well. And the quarterback, but also losing J.K. Dobbins, which, by the way, I had on my fantasy team.
Oh, crucial.
So sorry.
And then he went down, and I was like, oh, man. So, but not having a part of the running game, that is definitely a factor into that whole thing. I think ultimately I would lean and take the Bengals. I might buy down the 3 rather than the 3.5, you know, just to be on the safe side, but not having JK. I mean, and, you know, Lamar Jackson is awesome, but I think just that element of not having J.K. Dobbins within the lineup. And I feel like Joe Burrow will bounce back just because I don't think they're gonna. I mean, 3 points is not a lot, right? So I don't see them losing 2 games back to back just off the things I said. So that my lean would be the Bengals -3. I would go ahead and buy down, but you know, take it for what it's worth. So you know, that's where I'm at right now. So there's a couple other ones that I saw some interesting things, and they're at home too. So you know,
that's true.
Shoot.
So what other games are you looking at here? Because I see a few lines I like, but go ahead. I'll let you go.
We can get into it. I think there's 3 that I've kind of, I mean, I haven't really delved in a lot because, you know, got my regular job, but I have been how some things turned out. The Vikings Eagles one on Thursday is intriguing. Vikings they're getting 7.5 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I kind of feel, obviously the Eagles are a good team. I feel like they might be a little bit overvalued, just a little bit. Plus, it's a short week, you know, so I think 7.5 is a lot. Like, I mean, the Vikings are not a bad team. I mean, shoot, they're a good team. And I think people are just so hyped from last year that you just have to be careful. Like, they're not going to, I mean, people know that they're coming, but they know how to prepare for them too. So, I mean, like I said, those are my kind of quick thoughts on that game, just because 7.5 is a lot in NFL for just about most teams. And a lot of my picks from this last week, they were really close. Like, I mean, I was on the wrong side of a few of them, but most of them were about like a point or 2, you know. And so, like I said, I just think that I would lean the Vikings plus the 7.5. If it goes underneath 7, I would stay away from it, you know, because they're still the Eagles. So you just never know something can happen on the back end. And then my last one for now, like in terms of leans, I would be all over the Packers this week.
Thank you. That's what I just told Isaiah.
Look,
yes.
It's the same thing I said at the beginning. Like, people act like the Packers, like, just because Aaron Rodgers left, they got bad all of a sudden. Jordan Love, like, he played a pretty good game. Now, granted, I'm a little bit biased for Atlanta because they got my boy Bijan, put some Bijan on it. And he had a pretty good game in his first game out, and, like, you know, just kind of shook people out of their shoes and scored a touchdown, you know. So there's that. But, I mean, like I said, they didn't fall off the map just because Aaron Rodgers left. I mean, you know, so me personally, and this is me, this is like, I mean, you could take it for what it's worth, but I would strongly lean against the Packers based on what the output they had this last week. Now, like I said, you can take it for what it's worth. Now, granted, I haven't looked at a lot of totals yet, but those are kind of like my initial, just looking at the line and making a kind of lean based off of that. I'll probably get into a little more in depth later on in the week, do a little more research, especially totals. But those are kind of my initial thoughts. It's like, you know, Vikings plus 7.5, Bengals buying down to 3 or -3, and then the Packers like it's 1. They got 1. It's -1 last time I checked.
It's up to 2 now.
So, I mean, somebody knows something. Either the Sharps are probably kind of putting money on that, or, you know, they might be leaning more to where they're based off what I said. Granted, they're on the road, but okay, that's fine. I can deal with that.
I told Isaiah before you hopped on, I was like, give me the Packers and the points. Like, I will take them to cover that spread so easily, and because the Falcons they look decent on Sunday, but again it was against the Panthers, which with starting the rookie quarterback first game out, he throws 2 picks. You kind of expect to kind of do well with that. So I'm kind of with you.
It's not like they blew him out. It was 24-10, I think, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep. That's why I'm with you. I'm with you on the Packers. I'm falling in love with Jordan Love. I promise you.
Well, hold on, Mister. Oh, it's the Panthers. It's Bryce Young. You were singing his praises all last week about Bryce Young is the truth. I love Bryce Young. I understand it was his first.
Do.
You picked the Panthers to win the division.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I think
I still think the Panthers are going to.
You got. It takes some time. I never said.
Even after seeing Bijan, first of all, they need to get Tyler Algier out the backfield. They need to trade him. Whatever you got to do to get Bijan Robinson his touches.
Algier had 2 touchdowns.
I don't care what he had. He could have had a 6-touchdown game. We're talking about Bijan Robinson. This dude is elite. He is insane, insanely talented. He's the next. I think he's going to be the next McCaffrey, Eckler type player, but better because he can catch the ball better than both of those people. And this dude, they need to run the offense through him. Desmond Ridder, get the ball out of his hands. Unless you get somebody else, get the ball out of Desmond Ridder's hands and put it into Robinson's hands. So, like I said last week, I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons won the division. That's all I'm saying.
Isaiah, what you just pointed out was the reason I didn't pick the Falcons was Desmond Ridder. Like, that's their quarterback. You have to trust Desmond Ridder to take the snaps for you late in the season. And if it comes down to the last game, I don't know who the Falcons play in Week 18, but if it comes to last down, fourth quarter, like I don't trust Desmond Ridder to do that. And so that's why I picked the Panthers, and I'm sticking by it. So
it's a bad take.
Hey, they say pressure makes diamonds and bust pipes at the same time. So
yep. Mm-hmm.
Watch out for the sneaky Saints, though.
Man.
Let me get on the soapbox about Derek Carr real quick. He won the Super Bowl when he ran up the tunnel in New Orleans. It was like he was acting like he was Aaron Rodgers. He was like, I love New Orleans. I love the city. I wanted to do it for New Orleans, and we just came out here. We got it done, and it was never a doubt. You won by 1 point against the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans. I mean, come on. Let's be real. Derek Carr is acting like this is like some sort of Renaissance tour for him. Like he did dirty or something. He's a turnover machine. He's a good leader. That's what you want in a quarterback. But I mean, Derek Carr really made me upset because he was acting like they just won a playoff game or something. I mean, let's be real. That's all I got to say about Derek Carr. He just really annoyed me. He annoyed me.
You sound like you had like it was built up, like you just really had.
Yes, I was. Yeah. It was so frustrating.
Were you waiting for me to come in there and lay it up for you?
I'm just waiting for my opportunity to get in.
Oh my goodness!
I just had a side note. I was just thinking about another game that I did see the line on, and it kind of sparked my interest. I'm going to have to kind of get in the lab and figure it out. Take a look at the 49ers against the Rams and the total. I think that actually could go over. I think that could be. I mean, obviously, San Fran's defense is legit and all of that. I mean, but I could see that one be one that could be one for it to go over. I mean, I think that's kind of a reasonably low total, like for me. But again, that's just something I would kind of put on your brain. So, and we can talk about it later, offline or maybe even after the fact. But I think it's at 42. I would take the over at 42.
Oh, easily.
It's at 44 now.
Easily.
30.
Oh, it's at 44?
Oh, really? Did it go up? Golly. I think when I checked earlier, I thought it was at 42. Man, well, people are on it there. Because, I mean, he threw what, 2 something yesterday. And so, I mean, we'll see. I'm just saying. So
I think it'll be over.
Yeah, keep your eye on it. I because that's one that I did kind of as I was going through. I caught my eye and I was like, all right, we'll see how high it goes too. Because man, if everybody else kind of lines up with that, then okay. But anyway, I digress.
Hmm.
That was just another one I thought
Hmm.
about.
There's one more game I'm looking at before we
Okay.
move into college. Let me go back here because I have all my stuff here. It's kind of jank. But so the Chargers Titans, the Titans are +3 at home. And I like the Chargers to go in there and cover, considering what happened last week with Tua going into SoFi and just completely putting the hammer down. I think the Chargers go into Tennessee and just put the hammer down on the Titans. I'm
I
like
disagree.
but I think the Titans are one of the worst teams in the league. Like I'm
But they're still one of the best defenses.
Yes, which is why Isaiah, I'm in agreement with you. I don't think
Hmm.
those San Diego Superchargers are gonna have some problems. I'm just saying. Listen, I mean, maybe they win. I don't know, but it seems like I was telling you before. It's kind of like I mean, and, this is kind of the week for bounce backs, but I'm not necessarily saying like the Titans are gonna just kind of blow anybody out or whatever. But they're not. I mean, they're not just gonna roll over and let them like the Chargers come in there and beat them up either. So
Hmm.
even though your beloved Saint, or no, I say beloved Saints, but it was 1 point of difference last Sunday. Like
That's
I
true.
mean, they could have pulled that one out. It could have went either way on either side. So I don't like I said, I'm with Isaiah. I don't think they're just it's gonna be as simple as them going in there and just manhandling them.
I see. I see. My only thing is they're coming off a loss. The public is on the Titans. It's like
Mm-hmm.
60-40 right now. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I kind of get scared, like with the Titans, like, ugh, the public's all over you guys. But it's just,
They,
to me, I don't trust Ryan Tannehill at all.
right,
Like,
right.
They need a quarterback.
and
Yes,
it's
they
not
do.
Will Levis.
Right. I feel like this is the Ryan Tannehill apology tour or something like that. Like he's trying to redeem himself, and it's not really
He's
working out.
bad.
Great.
Oh, my
I feel
goodness.
like they'll. I feel like they would probably slow the game down. Like I think because they know that the Chargers can score, they might just they'll do what they normally do and rely on the running game, and not put Ryan Tannehill in a position to where he could lose the game for.
Which is a lot. That's often. Wait, Mr. Greg.
Yeah.
Oliver brought up a prediction. I think it was last episode or the episode before. What do you think about the Cardinals tanking for Caleb Williams and then them trading Kyler Murray to Tennessee and him being the quarterback for Tennessee and having a reunion with DeAndre Hopkins? I thought that was an interesting take because I don't think either Willis or Levis is ready yet. So I think they would send one of those two quarterbacks to Arizona and send Kyler Murray, who's a very dynamic quarterback, but he's just been injured the past couple of seasons, parts of the season. So what do you think? Do you think that's a possibility? Because I thought that was a pretty interesting take by Oliver.
That is an interesting take. Wow. I'll tell you that's the first time I've heard that. Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, I mean, you're right. Kyler Murray's just had a lot of injury issues. But, some of the times when he kind of went diva on the field, like, and between him and uh,
Yeah.
Kingsbury, just that. Yeah, I don't know if he's more of a liability at this point. I mean, he's still a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. But, some of the same adages as other people talk about, like the height thing or whatever. But add that with the injury thing, I don't know if he would be if they I don't know if now granted I think it would be an upgrade for Ryan Tannehill if he did go to Tennessee, but I don't know if they would move him like that. It would be interesting to see how they would work that out. But tanking Arizona tanking for Caleb, I mean it'd be smart because then they'd have a solid quarterback that's phenomenal and balling out. But I don't know. I don't know if I'd be willing to commit to that. I think they would probably try to move one of like second, third string guys over and then just kind of figure that out. I guess so. They would have Kyler Murray and then have Caleb Williams like under his wing or whatever with the idea of replacing Kyler Murray long term. But that's just my thought. That's an interesting take, though. I mean, I could see it, but I mean, it takes some work up here for me to kind of wrap my brain around it fully.
Yeah.
I think I saw Caleb Williams' dad the other day came out and he said, if we don't like the situation, he's going to stay at USC. And I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if that's just blowing smoke, but I think I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed. And if he saw like Arizona sitting there at 1, and he's sitting there with Lincoln Riley at USC and another chance to win a championship, I wouldn't be surprised. But
don't forget the NIL. That's part of
the
the
NIL.
why these players are staying in college and not choosing to go to the league is because they're getting paid more than some of these top quarterbacks are getting paid annually just due to NIL money.
Well, that's a good counterpoint because I was about to say, well, that's all well and good, but when they start throwing these millions at you, like, hey, look, this is
right,
and they're like, you know what? Maybe I do need to come out over here. Who knows?
Yep.
But, you know, a lot of things are up in the air with that. Like, I mean, if Caleb Williams continues to ball out and continues to be at one of the forefronts of the Heisman candidate conversation, then obviously his stock is going to go even higher than where it is. So, you know, and people might trade up for him to get him, even if Arizona does have one. So I don't, you know, I mean, I've only been to Arizona a couple of times, but it's not like the hotbed of activity. So I'm sure other people are going to be willing to buy for him, especially if his stock goes up. So, you know, he's kind of in a win-win right now.
Yeah. I just want to make a quick note before we move on to the Longhorns. I want to say Anthony Richardson looks good before we move on. I just want to say Anthony Richardson I thought looked really good. Considering it was his first game, raw prospect, I thought he looked pretty decent against the Jags. But anyways, how about them Longhorns?
Hook 'em horns.
Mr. Greg, is Texas back?
Oh, of course. That is the question of the week going to next week. Maybe it's a couple weeks after that. You know, they really showed me a lot this past weekend because obviously going into that game, you know, it's a big game and everybody was like, I mean, it's been circled on the calendar since last year. And the game last year was a really good game. We were there at that game, and I mean, it was all the way down to the end. So that, even though the season didn't quite, I mean, we definitely had a decent season last year, but that was one that was marked, and they did a good job. So I was like, okay, cool. They should be able to hang with Alabama and, you know, potentially beat them, especially because the week before, I mean, getting news about their secondary. Or a couple of players now. I was like, oh yeah, we got a shot because we definitely have some horses in the stable on the offensive side. And you know, if and I said to my dad, I said, like, you know, if we can connect with some deep balls, man, we're gonna be in there. Because last year, we tried to go up top a couple of times and just couldn't get the timing right and just couldn't connect. So, you know, and obviously I'm always trying to give us the benefit of the doubt, but I also can be realistic. But I said, you know, Tuscaloosa is a tough place to play, but I think we can go in there and handle that. So to answer your question, I'm going to say I still need to see more from the team. I don't want to get into the, you know, like I mean, and I've been a Texas fan almost my entire life. So, I mean, it's almost equivalent to being a Cowboys fan because we always say, well, there's always next year. There's always next year. There's always next year. But they are doing a lot of great things, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Like both sides are clicking, but I mean, they got guys flying around all over the place. And I'm just like, okay, I'm here for it. So I'm going to say, I don't think we're back yet. I need them to prove more of themselves. Alabama's a phenomenal team, and obviously they have the pedigree. You know, it's still, you know, week 2 of the season. Is this going to be the same Alabama team in week 8? Or week 10. Also, on the other end, is this going to be the same Texas team in week 8? So a lot of it is just depending on, you know, how if Sark can really continue to build on what they're doing. And the last thing I'll say is that sometimes I feel like Texas plays up to their competition or down to their competition, depending on who they're playing.
Yep.
I agree.
100%.
So that's been their MO for a while now. I mean, you can go back all the way. You can go all the way back to when the last time we played Alabama for the championship game. So they tend to do that a lot, and it's like the teams that you would expect for them to like just mash on, they get really close, or they stay close, or they might win, or they might even get beat. And so, I think that these next couple of weeks, even though, I mean, the teams that we're playing, I mean, they're not the greatest teams. Like, I mean, what Texas is, I think they're like a 26, 27 point favorite, which I thought was a little insane. Now, granted, that the Alabama hangover, if you will, but it's home, right? So I could see why it's that, but at the same time, I'm like, wait a minute now, So we'll see is what I'll say to that. I'm really stoked about where they are. A lot of things are clicking. A lot of things are going right. But, even after game 1 against Rice, they didn't look that great against Rice. So, again, it goes back to what I was saying about they play up or down to their competition. So we'll see.
I definitely agree. I think it's a we'll see. Although they do deserve the number 4 ranking that they got in the standings, absolutely. Like going into Tuscaloosa and beating Bama by 10, that's tough to do. Their defense surprised me a lot. Texas defense surprised me a lot. I didn't think they'd be able because Big 12 defenses aren't known for being really good. And so that's what surprised me was, okay, maybe these guys are ready for the SEC next year. Like maybe they can compete in the SEC. Unlike A&M, our friends down in College Station. So yeah, I won't get into them. But
how about Baylor? Let's talk about Baylor. How's Baylor been doing, Oliver? How are the Baylor Bears?
Hand up, I plead the fifth.
All right, I just wanted to check up on you. I just wanted to do a welfare check after Baylor. So I just wanted to make sure you were okay.
Mr. Greg probably had a great football weekend. The Cowboys won. Texas went into Tuscaloosa, and then there's my team who blows a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter to Utah. And then the Bills go into MetLife and stink up the joint. And then I have to show up on Tuesday morning to school, and everyone's clowning me like, okay, like, I'm sorry, my team suck. It's okay. Like, like I'm fine. Everything's fine.
If you don't ride with them in the wins, you gotta ride with them in the L's too.
I have to. Have to. Yep.
I've been there. So if I'm shouting when they win, I mean, I'm like, I'll still stand by when they lose too. So yeah, it was a phenomenal weekend. Baylor lost, A&M lost. I came into work on Monday just about like grinning from ear to ear. I was like, dude. So, yes, absolutely.
Look, my roommate, he's a Giants fan, and he wakes up on Monday morning. I'm like, hey, you ready to go to class? He's like, I'm not going. Not dealing with it. We did not go to class on Monday. For good reason, honestly. All the students are Cowboys fans, so he didn't feel like facing the noise. But I will say, Texas, they have to prove themselves, and if they go into Red River and lose to OU, that to me is going to spell disaster incoming, because if you're this good, you're ranked number 4, you got to beat OU in Red River. And the thing with Texas, as you said, Mr. Greg, is there's always like one weird game where they go to like Ames, Iowa and lose by 20. Like it just doesn't make sense. It never makes sense, but it happens for some reason. And for me, I think that sneaky game that it could happen is Houston, because going to Houston, new Big 12 member, they're coming off a loss. They won this week, but they lost to UTSA. So, they beat UTSA, lost this week. I'm getting it all wrong. But I think that could be the sneaky game that you see Texas kind of slip up, especially since it's on the road. And those Houston fans are going to show up for that game. So
Well,
um,
I'm gonna do you one better. I'm gonna do you one better. If there was a quote unquote trap game, for me, it would actually, believe it or not, it would be Kansas. Kansas
really,
played, yeah, they played pretty well this last week, and it's the game right before OU. So I'm not 100% convinced that Texas won't be looking forward or looking ahead to OU. And if they're not careful, they might get bit. But obviously, I don't want that to happen. But I honestly believe that they need to make sure and take one game at a time and focus on the team right in front of them. Because if they're not careful, like I said, a team like that can sneak up on them and really bite them. Because I mean, like I said, I've seen it happen before, and we just talked about it. So in terms of like playing up or down, like if they just think, oh yeah, no big deal, and we're gonna kind of roll over them or whatever. Now, granted, if they do, so be it. But I just feel like everybody has Texas circled on their calendar, and Texas always has a target on its back because it's Texas. So we could be 3-8, but it's still Texas. Beat Texas,
right?
Right.
Like, okay, you can hang your hat on that. Now, to your point about OU, I think if Texas goes in, I mean, now it would change the narrative if they got blown out. They got blown out to be there. I think if it was a close game, I still would be like, okay. I mean, because Oklahoma, they're still managed to still they're still an elite team, and so that game is always back and forth. So if it's tight, and depending on what happens, then obviously I'm still going to back Longhorns. But if we're talking about the conversation of whether they're back or not, that'll be another huge hurdle for them to get. If they get over, then you go, okay, now we really need to focus in on, like, they're really doing some stuff. But I'll say this, and I believe it. Quinn Ewers did a really great job at the game. He was real careful with the ball, no real major, issues. And let's say hypothetically he did. Look, Malik Murphy is sitting on the bench just chomping at the bit to get in. And when I watched him in the spring game, not only he could run anywhere, but he could throw it on a rope, like, fast. And so he has a stronger arm, and he's mobile. So Lord forbid, I don't want anything to happen to Quinn Ewers, but I think we're good, though. If something did, next man up, and we just keep it moving. So I feel confident about that part, for sure. So,
do you think is Arch Manning? Did he redshirt?
I think so. But like I said, when I saw Malik Murphy at the spring game, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, he's on deck. Let's go. Have Quinn Ewers looking over his shoulder because, all it takes is not a couple of bad games, and it's like, all right, you're in. And he from what I've seen, he seems like he can handle himself pretty well. So we'll see. He's a big dude too, so I'm like, all right, well.
Yep. Mr. Greg, I got a question for you. Let's transition to a state a little bit up north.
Okay.
I want to know, because there's been this talk, the Heisman talk. I want to know, in your opinion, do you think there's any chance, even a slim chance, that either Shedeur Sanders or Travis Hunter, if Colorado continues to play this way, that they have a chance of winning the Heisman just because of the bravado of Deion Sanders? Because let's not act like Deion Sanders is not doing an outstanding job with Colorado. I think he's knocking it out of the park, and he's confident, and he's doing really, really great. So do you think either of those two have a shot to win the Heisman, or do you think Caleb Williams has it locked up?
Right now, as it sits, and obviously we're in week 2, about to go into week 3. I think as it sits right now, Caleb Williams is probably leading the charge on just about everybody's list. I will tell you, as a newly acquired Buffalo fan,
me too.
I am down, Team Deion. I will say this to you, Shedeur Sanders, he is so cool and calm in the pocket. He makes
oh my God,
the entire game. Other than there was that one unsportsmanlike conduct penalty when he took his helmet off.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if you put that to the side and just base it on how he conducted himself on the field, he could put the ball anywhere, tight windows, over the top. He's just so smart. But to answer your initial question, I think if he continues to do that and carving up these defenses, like he's got some tests coming up, right? So Oregon is going to be a major one, right? If he kind of make his way through those, I definitely will be like, yo, we need to really start talking about him in that same conversation. And like you said, to your point, Deion gets it. Like he's been around like forever, and so obviously the bravado that he brings, the confidence that he brings, and the players that he brings, it all kind of like he knows how to advocate and for his players. And if he's not going to advocate for his son, who do you think he's going to advocate for, right? He's
right.
Hard in the paint,
right.
For both. But really, okay, my son, he is doing all the things, right? So if they continue to win, I mean, even within the next couple of weeks, especially with some of those games like I just mentioned, he already is getting some run on that conversation right now. And they won 2 games. 2.
I know. But one was against TCU, and that was impressive. That was an impressive game. They were the runner-ups. They were the runner-ups last year, Mr. Greg. They were the runner-ups.
That wasn't the same team.
It's not. You're right. You're right. Absolutely.
How did that work out? Do you remember the score of that game? Okay.
Yeah. It was bad.
Then number 2, different team, right? You can't.
Not the same team.
You can't put it in the same. And they lost a lot of people too. So I mean, I'm not discrediting the job they did because it was a track meet both ways. Like
it was. It was.
There was more of a test against the Nebraska defense, but they still carved them up too. So like I said, I'm pro Colorado. Shedeur Sanders is a really great quarterback, and to kind of take a sidestep on this, I just find it interesting how the narrative of even getting into big time football, quote unquote, like Division I football, like straight up, like folks didn't expect him to do well because obviously he came from the HBCU ranks in Jackson State, and so but the fact that he's still doing the same things that he did there with no drop off. They said like the only difference was the bigger offensive lines and defensive lines.
Yep.
That was the real difference between the two. But he's still carving folks up.
So,
it's
impressive.
That's an interesting narrative that I'm just like, as long as he continues to show out, make great decisions, he's gonna be fine. He's gonna be fine.
That the HBCU narrative is dead. The fact that talent from HBCUs doesn't translate. I mean, Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter both kind of killed that narrative.
I mean, it's been killed for a long time, honestly. Like you start looking at folks in the NFL, and especially some of the like really well known, like the greats that we know, like for case in point, Shannon Sharp.
Right.
They came from like, I mean, and now he's on First Take, but I mean, and he's phenomenal. He was phenomenal in the league, and and there's plenty of other ones. Like I can go to like a laundry list, Walter Payton. You can go down, but I think the way that the media sometimes presents that, though, they make you think that the talent level isn't as good or on level, but he's proving that right now. Like Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter are proving that literally right now, and with social media and all that, they're getting a lot of run for that. So I hope that narrative, like, I mean, I agree with you. I think that aspect specifically to Colorado is dead, like in terms of that. But hopefully it continues to morph into where they go, okay, it's not just those two, but it's so many other players that can come on that same level, So I think that's cool. Yeah. I'm gonna show you. Hold on a second. Go ahead, keep talking. I'm here.
I'm not gonna lie.
I want to point out.
I got props. So
okay.
Just to kind of tell you, I'm on board right now. I got.
No.
Yes.
I'm
officially. You can't see it, but this is Buffalo logo.
Oh,
let's go.
Let's
go. Yeah, I got to change. So go Buffs.
Go Buffs.
Yes, that's
go
right.
Buffs.
That's right.
Awesome.
All the swag things coming. I got the palm t-shirt. I am pro Colorado. So let's go.
Don't let UT people see that on you now. Don't let them see it on you.
I'm not in Austin this week, so yeah.
Goodness, that's so funny. Yeah. I love Colorado though. Shedeur Sanders. I'm telling you, that kid's gonna be a first-round draft pick. I mean, and coming from that bloodline that he has with his father,
Right.
and his brother. I mean, they're both going to be NFL players.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. It's not obviously there's name recognition with Dion, but when you look at Shador, what he does on the field, it's not just about his dad. It's about him
Right.
doing work.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's putting
Mhm.
in the work and can, like, he'll talk trash, but he can back it up for sure. Like, he said that this last game was really personal because Matt Rule talked a whole lot about Deion Sanders, his dad, prior to
Yeah, he did.
prior to there. He talked a lot of ish, a lot of yang.
That was his first
And so-
mistake.
Yes, and so he took it really personal, and he said that afterwards. He said, "I didn't like being disrespected. I didn't like my dad being disrespected," and so the whole team kind of rallied around that. So
Mhm.
all I say is folks gonna keep talking. You just keep moving wrong, and then it's all good.
Well,
Yep.
Well, I want to pivot to a little more on Colorado. Do you think? I think it's amazing that Travis Hunter is playing both sides of the ball for a majority of the game. That's mind-boggling to me. Me personally, I'm impressed when I watch him. He's had a pick already in a game. He's had some crazy catches. The dude is an athlete. He is one of one.
Mhm.
But me personally, I don't think that. I think that's good for college, but I don't think that's sustainable in the NFL. What do you guys think? I think if he gets to the NFL, whatever team drafts him, they're going to be like, you ain't doing that. I know it's unique, but we want you on offense or we want you on defense. Now, I will say this as a side note. There's a player on the Patriots. I'm a Patriots fan. His name is Marcus Jones. He was drafted last year, I think, out of Houston. He plays some offensive snaps for them at receiver, and then he plays some defensive snaps at corner, and he's been really good for them at both. But he doesn't play anywhere. It's like 1 or 2 snaps on offense, so like he'll get a game. Travis Hunter, it's looking like his goal is to play both sides permanently. I don't think that's sustainable, but he is very talented at both. What do you guys think?
All right.
Go ahead. You can start off. I started the last one. You go.
I think I think it's sustainable because the way that Travis Hunter is built, that dude is a superhuman athlete. Like, he's not just a football player. Like, he is a straight up athlete through and through. And he has the stamina, the cardio, the strength to kind of get through playing all of those snaps. And if I'm not mistaken, Charles Woodson played both sides. Am I correct?
He did
But not as much as Travis Hunter. Like,
right.
I don't think we've seen.
I think he missed like 10 snaps on offense and like 7 on defense or something crazy like that.
Right.
It's insane. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's sustainable for him just because he is him, as Dion said. Like Travis Hunter can do it. I think it's going to be sustainable in the league. It might not be for his whole career, but at least coming in, like when he's a rookie, I think he'll be fine.
Right. Well, and I'll say this. I think there's one person that has a lot of experience that can speak to that, and that's his coach, Deion Sanders. He
Absolutely.
played both sides of the ball.
He did play. He played both sides too.
Yeah, he
And
did.
said numerous times that Travis Hunter is better than he was. So I don't necessarily know if it's like, we're talking about sustainable for a long period of time, but obviously, again, we go back to Deion. He knows the game, been there, done that, got the T-shirt. So I think if he is confident that Travis can do that, I think that I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, because I don't think Deion would kind of tell him something that was wrong, that knowingly, like, especially because Deion, obviously, as great as Deion is, knows the game, been around it, so he knows what the demands are. So I don't think he would kind of fill his head up with, oh yeah, you can do all these things, and then he gets there and then it just kind of blows up in his face. So I think that he knows Travis better than we all do, and so I feel like if he's confident enough to say, and even putting him out there now, then I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I mean, like you said, Isaiah, coach could get a hold of him in the NFL and say, look, we know what you did in college, but we're gonna need you to do this. And so it might take more convincing and more opportunities or stuff like that when he gets in the league. To have that faith to be, okay, well, maybe he can handle it. I don't know. But I think initially they might kind of steer him into one side of the ball versus the other.
That's my question, though. That's my question. What side of the ball would he play? Because he's so good at both.
I think you got to put him on offense. You got to put him on offense. I think you got to. He's one of those guys that can just, You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
snap.
Like you got to put him
Yeah.
on offense.
He can change the game on either side. That's for sure. He can change the game just like that. You know, that's kind of a freakish athlete that he is. But I love to see it though. I love to see it. I'm here for it all day long because they are just lighting the world on fire. And like those Colorado fans didn't know what hit them, but they don't know what they got when they got him. So they have packed that stadium. When I remember last year was like 4 people in there. So I'm like, dude, let's go all the way. So.
I agree with that. So here's my thing with Travis Hunter. I think he's probably better built to be a cornerback. Which, if you saw his pick against TCU, you understand why. Like the way he's able to read an offense is insane. Like the way he can read a quarterback is you don't find that everywhere. You don't find people like him that could do that. So I think he'd play defense just because of the ability to make those kind of crazy interceptions when you need to. But I mean, I think he could do it. I don't see why he wouldn't be able to play both sides. So that's my kind of 2 cents. But Mr. Greg, I have a question. Did you see threw a 57-yard touchdown on Saturday? Yes. Yes.
Did not.
Who? Wait, who?
The West Point.
Oh.
The triple option special threw a 57-yard tutty. It was like right into his hands too. It was something I'd never seen before. I've been watching Army football for my whole life, and I've never seen that before.
I haven't been watching that long, but I've watched them long enough to know what their routine is. So, like I said, miracles happen every day.
Right.
Nobody expected that at all, I'm sure. So,
well,
okay.
Speaking of Colorado, by the way, they play USC in 2 weeks.
Yep.
They have this week, and then they play USC.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll find out what those buffs are made out of in that game.
I think I still got to roll with USC that game. I think I got to. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think again, I'm going to still root for Colorado, but like my betting side and like all the things. I just kind of go, well, I mean, and obviously my whole take on that is just USC. Obviously, Caleb Williams. Like even if we put that to the side, we know Caleb Williams is going to do what Caleb Williams does. But the fact that they have an established program and they've kind of built it up to that, and obviously, as great as things are happening in Colorado, it's still year one, so they're still kind of figuring out a lot of things about themselves and them getting established. So I would come on here and pleasantly tell you I was wrong if it goes the other way and Colorado manages to pull out a dub. I'd sit there and say I was wrong. America.
Yep.
I know about football. I'm just like, I can't see it right now. But Deion's been proving folks wrong his whole career as a player and a coach. So I mean, I wouldn't be the most shocked. I mean, I'd be a little shocked, but the most shocked if they pulled out something like that. So we'll see.
We got some. I'm loving this college football season so far, though, because like there's not a clear-cut team that I could pick right now and say I'm confident this team is going to win. Because there's like 7 teams that I can think of, like Texas, Florida State, Michigan, Georgia, Penn State. I think is a very, very sneaky team. If you look out for Penn State, I think they could beat both Ohio State and Michigan this year. Because Ohio State looks shaky, they're not looking too hot. So
they've been coming out the gate real slow in their games, and they've had to fight in just about every game. They haven't blown out anybody, so I'm kind of with you. They're not as, I guess the billing is not all the way up as what you would think for them, what you would think they would be right now, but yeah, I agree with you. They're not as cracked up as you would think.
Right.
But time will tell. But that Penn State piece, though, I'm kind of with you on that because they've been a good team the last couple of years for sure.
Mhm.
Now I think they're just starting to put some of those pieces even more so together now. And this weekend I think because what are they number 7 I think right
7.
now, and they're playing Illinois this weekend. I
Hmm.
mean, I think they're favored by a lot. It's like
Yeah.
14.5 or
Right.
something, and I think the public's all over them, which is going to be interesting. So that's a whole nother conversation, but all the right thing. So who knows? It's up for grab. Like you said, those top maybe 6, 7, 8 teams. It's tough to kind of differentiate. Like there's nobody that's really just kind of heads and tails above kicking everybody's butt right now.
Right.
It's still week 2 though. Too. We're going into week 3. So again, we'll see.
We will see. I'm watching out for Penn State, though. Florida State, though, they're looking good. I mean, Texas looks good. There's a lot of teams that look good. So we're just going to have to see in the last year of the 4-team playoff how it ends up. But all right. Well, I think
I'm gonna tell.
well, I think we're done. I think we got through everything we were going to. Is that right, Isaiah?
Yes.
All right. Well, we want to thank Mr. Greg for hopping on with us today.
Absolutely.
Mr. Greg, I don't know if you knew we were live on YouTube pretty much the whole time. So, but we
Right.
we were kind of worried that it wasn't going to work because we've tried to get them to stream the last like 2 or 3 episodes and it just hasn't worked. And for some reason, I just got it to click in perfectly, and we've been doing well.
Well, hey, listen, it was a pleasure. Like this, I love to talk sports, and Ali, we talk offline all the time.
Mhm.
So this is awesome, just to kind of get y'all's thoughts and opinions, and because trust me, I can tell you if I'm not doing stuff for work, I'm sitting in front of the tube watching games. So I've been doing the game for a long time. So this is cool. It's a great opportunity, and I appreciate y'all having me on for sure.
Oh,
Yes,
we're gonna have you. We're gonna have you back on. No need to worry.
I'm a phone call away or a text away. Holler at me. We can get into it for sure.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you.
We'll see
Thank
what it
you
looks
again.
like. We'll see what the predictions look like at the end of this week. We'll see.
Yep.
We'll see. So
Yeah.
cool. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank
Well,
you.
thanks for coming on, Mr. Greg. We appreciate it. It was good to talk to you.
Absolutely. Well, y'all take it easy.
All right,
Yes,
you
sir.
too, Mr.
Have a
Greg.
good one.
Ooh. Anyways, thanks everyone for watching. This was episode 8 of the Athletic Exchange.
8 episodes already. That's crazy.
That was a good episode. That was a great conversation. I enjoyed that. A lot of good stuff going around. Don't forget to subscribe to our socials. It's Athletic Exchange Pod on Instagram, and it's the AE Podcast 23 on X. And don't forget to follow
my
your
gosh,
boy.
I forgot
Don't
it's
forget
on
to
X.
follow.
Bring
It's
back
X now.
Twitter. Bring back Twitter.
No, X is fine. X is fine.
Whatever.
But thanks everyone for tuning in. Everyone on the live stream. I've been seeing your chats. Nothing too much. How we love Joe Burrow.
That's Lourdes. That's Lourdes. She's trolling.
And I forgot to tell Mr. Greg. Someone says it's the OG Mr. G to the triple G.
I got a lot of love and respect for Mr. Greg. He's
Me
impacted
too.
my life in a very positive light in high school, especially with
Yes.
music. So
Yes, absolutely. For me too. I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell you how much he's been a big mentor to me and a big help in
Agreed.
my life. So
mhm.
I really appreciate him coming on. We got to have him on again. at some
For
point.
sure. For
So,
sure.
Maybe after that Colorado USC to see how he's feeling.
100%.
But all right, thanks everyone for hopping on with us today. It's been fun, and we'll see y'all next time.
Till next
Peace.
time. Peace.